Sometimes you walk into a family room and your body reacts before your mind does. Your shoulders tighten a little. Your voice becomes more careful. Your thoughts start scanning the room before anyone has even said much. And the strange part is, outside that space, you can feel normal. With strangers, you are fine. With coworkers, you can be calm. Sometimes with friends, you can even feel fully like yourself. But around your own family, something changes. You do not fully let go. You do not fully rest. You do not fully stop monitoring. It feels small from the outside, but inside, it is exhausting. And if this happens to you, it does not necessarily mean you are weak. It does not mean you are overly dramatic. It does not even mean your family is always doing something obviously wrong in the moment. Very often, it means your nervous system learned something early and never fully unlearned it. Some people grow up in homes where family is not just love. It is also tension, anticipation, adjustment, emotional weather. You learn to notice who is upset before they speak. You learn which topics are safe and which ones quietly explode. You learn when to stay silent, when to soften yourself, when to become useful, and when to disappear a little. Over time, you do not just develop habits, you develop survival roles. You become the peacemaker, the easy one, the funny one, the capable one, the quiet one, the one who never needs too much. And once a role helps you stay connected or avoid conflict, the brain holds on to it. That is one of the most important things to understand here. The brain does not ask, "Is this the healthiest pattern?" It asks, "Did this help me survive connection before?" If the answer is yes, it keeps it. So years later, as an adult, you may still feel your body shift around family, even when you know you are not a child anymore. A simple question can feel heavier than it should. Why are you so quiet? When are you going to figure things out? Why are you being sensitive? On the surface, these may sound like ordinary comments, but inside your system, they are not ordinary. They touch old layers. They wake up old identities. They pull you back toward versions of yourself that were built in response to pressure, not freedom. And then the self-talk begins. Why do I become like this around them? Why can't I just relax? Why do I shrink here? Why do I feel guilty, defensive, or tense before anything even happens? Psychology has a simple answer, even if the feeling itself is complex. Your brain is predictive. It is always trying to guess what kind of environment you are in and what kind of self you need to become in order to move through it safely. So when you enter a familiar family space, your mind is not just seeing the present. It is comparing the present to old emotional patterns. The voice sounds familiar. The room feels familiar. The posture, the timing, the silence, the look on someone's face, all of it carries memory. And your nervous system responds fast, not because it is confused, but because that is what it was designed to do. It is trying to protect you before you have to consciously think. A useful way to understand this is to imagine the brain like an old smoke alarm. At some point, that alarm had a reason to become sensitive. Maybe it lived around criticism. Maybe around emotional unpredictability. Maybe around shame. Maybe around love that felt conditional. Maybe around closeness that also came with judgment, intrusion, or pressure. So the alarm learned to react quickly. The problem is not that it learned. The problem is that now it may go off not only for smoke, but for steam. A tone of voice, a question at dinner, a certain kind of silence, a certain chair, a certain holiday, a certain look across the table. The body does not always wait for danger to be confirmed. It prepares for danger based on what feels familiar. That is why you can know, logically, that nothing major is happening and still feel your chest tighten, your mind speed up, and your personality become smaller. There is a simple mental model for this. Cue, then body state, then role. First comes the cue. A voice, a room, a phrase, a glance, a family pattern beginning to form. Then the body state changes. Your breathing gets shallower, your muscles become more alert, your nervous system starts preparing. Then the role appears. The one who explains too much, the one who tries to keep peace, the one who says nothing, the one who becomes overly agreeable, the one who becomes sharp before anyone can hurt them first. This happens so quickly that it feels like personality. But many times it is not your deepest personality. It is your most practiced protection. And that changes the meaning of the whole experience. You are not broken. You are adapted. Your body is not betraying you. It is repeating something that once made sense. That does not mean the pattern should stay in charge forever, but it does mean you stop treating yourself like a problem. Because shame only makes the nervous system more defensive. Understanding gives it room to update. And that update usually does not happen through one big realization. It happens through repeated, small moments where your brain gets new evidence. The first thing that helps is naming the role before the room names it for you. Before seeing family, pause for a moment and ask yourself, who do I usually become around them? Not what do they do to me? Not how do I fix all of this? Just who do I become? Do you become overly polite? Do you become invisible? Do you become a performer? Do you become someone who explains every choice as if it needs permission? This matters because when you label a pattern, you create a little distance from it. In psychology, this kind of labeling recruits more reflective processing. It brings the automatic reaction into awareness. And once something is visible, it becomes slightly less automatic. If you tell yourself, I tend to become the careful version of me here, your brain begins to notice that the role is something you enter, not something you are. The second thing is regulating the body before trying to solve the relationship. A lot of people go straight into mental analysis while their nervous system is already bracing. But the brain listens to the body constantly. If your jaw is tight, your breath is shallow, and your shoulders are lifted, your brain reads that as evidence that something is wrong. So before the conversation pulls you under, soften the body first. Exhale a little longer than usual. Relax your hands. Drop your shoulders. Let your tongue rest instead of pressing against your mouth. Feel your feet on the ground. This is not shallow advice. This is bottom-up regulation. It works because the body sends information upward to the brain. When the body becomes less defensive, the brain has a better chance of staying present instead of defaulting to old prediction patterns. The third thing is changing one behavior, not your whole personality. This is where many people make the process too big. They think they need to become fearless, confront everyone perfectly, or suddenly act like the family dynamic has no effect on them. But the brain changes through small violations of the old script. If it expects the old loop and something slightly different happens, it begins to update. So choose one small difference. Maybe you answer more slowly. Maybe you stop over-explaining. Maybe you say, I need a minute to think about that. Maybe you do not rush to repair tension that you did not create. Maybe you leave the room briefly without apologizing for existing. These small acts matter because they create what psychology sometimes calls prediction error. The nervous system expects one pattern. You give it a slightly different one. And when the world does not collapse, the brain starts learning that the old role is not the only way to stay safe. The fourth thing is creating predictability where family systems often create fog. A lot of family tension is not only about what is said, it is also about the uncertainty around it. How long will this visit last? What topics will come up? Will you be able to leave when you need to? Will someone corner you emotionally and expect you to absorb it? The nervous system calms down when it has some structure. So decide a few things before you enter. How long you are staying, what your exit line will be, what topic you do not want to discuss, what you will do if you feel yourself shutting down. This is not cold. It is not selfish. It is simply creating enough predictability for your body to stop feeling trapped. And trapped is often the real trigger. The fifth thing is what you do after the interaction. Many people leave family contact and either numb out or replay every moment for hours. But there is a better way to help the brain learn from the experience. Afterward, ask yourself 3 questions. What triggered me? What did I do differently? What did I survive? This works because memory is shaped by how we reflect on it. If you leave the experience as one giant emotional blur, the brain stores it as more evidence that family equals threat and helplessness. But if you make it specific, the brain has something more accurate to work with. Maybe a certain tone triggered you. Maybe you still kept your voice steady. Maybe you did not over-explain this time. Maybe you noticed your body tightening and softened it before you spiraled. That is not nothing. That is how change begins to feel real. All of this can be held inside one simple idea. Family may still press old buttons, but those buttons are not your identity. The cue is real. The reaction is real. The old role is real. But none of them are final. With awareness, the sequence changes. Not cue, then body, then role, but cue, then awareness, then choice. That is the quiet shift. Not becoming unaffected, not becoming emotionally numb, not pretending the past had no impact. Just becoming less automatic, less available for the old version of you that had to stay tense in order to stay connected. And maybe that is what healing looks like here. Not forcing yourself to feel relaxed in every family room, not demanding instant comfort from a nervous system that learned caution honestly, but standing beside yourself differently, understanding that your body is responding to history, not weakness, understanding that what feels irrational now may have once been intelligent, understanding that growth is often quiet. It may look like one slower answer, one honest breath, one boundary, one moment where you do not abandon yourself to keep the peace. That is how trust in yourself returns. Not all at once, but in small, believable moments your nervous system can actually learn from. And maybe the deepest change is not that your family suddenly feels easy. Maybe it is that little by little, you stop turning against yourself for reacting the way you do. Because once you understand that your nervous system has been protecting you, not sabotaging you, something softens. You stop calling yourself too much, too sensitive, too guarded, too affected. And you begin to see the truth more clearly. You are not failing to relax. You are trying to stay safe in a place your body never fully stopped studying. And sometimes the beginning of peace is not finally feeling understood by them. It is finally understanding yourself.